Pac would have boxed him. Pac would have loved to beat his ass in the ring, raise some money, and give it to the hood. It's so complicated, convoluted, chaotic. It's hard to actually figure out what's what, but it's becoming clearer.
We are standing on the edge of a revelation that could shatter hip-hop history and rewrite the legend of Shakur forever. A secret, locked away for almost 3 decades, has just erupted into the spotlight. The world is buzzing about a newly leaked audio tape, an explosive phone call that Shakur's own brother, Mopreme Shakur, has apparently been sitting on since 1996. Until now, Mopreme only hinted at this call. He's described how, in the frantic hours after Shakur was gunned down in Las Vegas, Sean Diddy Combs himself picked up the phone and dialed the Shakur family. Diddy's message back then sounded, on the surface, like classic celebrity damage control. I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's situation. That's how Mopreme told a story for years. But the audio Mopreme just let slip tells a very different tale, one that might finally answer the question that's haunted the world since that fateful night. Who was really behind the hit?
The boy Puffy called me though. Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's, you know, I know who you are, but we never met. And I just want to call you man to man, let you know that I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's Now, why was he calling me, reaching out to me?
According to those who've heard it, what Mopreme kept hidden wasn't just an awkward celebrity phone call. The tape allegedly contains Diddy's own voice, raw and urgent, not only denying involvement, but, here's the bombshell, slipping into threats and promises. Whispers from inside the investigation claim we hear Diddy, cornered by the chaos in Vegas, not just denying, but confessing in code, hinting at deals, at silencing, at whatever it takes to keep the Shakurs quiet. There's talk of hush money, of veiled warnings, of a man who seems to know too much and feels the walls closing in. It's not just a smoking gun. If the tape is real, and the FBI reportedly has it now, this could be the chilling confession the world has been waiting for. The key to a puzzle that has taunted everyone from LA detectives to obsessed fans on late-night forums. The sheer power of this audio and the timing of its leak is like dynamite tossed into the heart of a case the world thought was cold. The pain of this unsolved tragedy has hung over Mopreme and the entire Shakur family for decades. Years of suspicion, conflicting stories, and an endless stream of industry gossip. Mopreme himself has always played it careful. Even last year, when Piers Morgan grilled him on air, he was cautious, refusing to accuse Diddy outright, but never letting go of his doubt. My opinion is that I don't believe it was a 100% honest statement, he said, voice tight with frustration. It was never just about Shakur. It was about trust, about family, about living every day with the sense that justice was just out of reach. Imagine living with that kind of knowledge. A voice on tape, a threat in the dark, a question mark on every friendship and handshake for nearly 30 years. No wonder Mopreme looks exhausted in every interview.
He called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's, you know, I know who.
So why did Diddy call it all? That's the question that won't quit. At the height of his power, hot off chart-topping singles, bad boy records booming, why would the self-proclaimed King of New York pick up the phone and call the brother of his late rival just hours after the drive-by in Vegas? Was it a moment of genuine remorse, a guilty conscience breaking through? Or was it something much colder, a calculated strike to make sure the Shakur family never found its voice? Now that we know Mopreme was recording, everything changes. Every denial, every offer, every cryptic phrase carries new weight. The cracks are finally showing, and the truth is clawing its way to the surface, whether the industry is ready or not. As if that wasn't wild enough, a whole new layer of intrigue has landed at the Shakur family's doorstep. Rumors are swirling, some from former death row insiders, some from old-school Vegas police, that Diddy didn't just place one panicked call. According to these whispers, there was a Vegas cleanup crew, a squad of operatives sent into the desert night with one job: scrub away every trace of the hit, intimidate every potential witness, make sure nobody ever connected the dots between the East Coast and the black BMW riddled with bullets outside the MGM Grand. It's the kind of thing that sounds like movie fiction until you realize just how much muscle, money, and fear was floating around in those years. If these rumors are true, this audio recording might be the one piece of evidence that escaped the mop-up, a ghost from 1996 that survived every thread, every payoff, every backroom deal.
Named Diddy 77 times in court documents related to Tupac's murder.
The scale of secrecy here is almost impossible to comprehend. For years, people have asked why the Shakur case refused to close, why so many witnesses forgot what they saw, why key figures in the investigation met with sudden, strange ends. Now, as Diddy sits behind bars facing a storm of unrelated federal charges, racketeering, exploitation, running a freak-off empire that sounds more like the plot of a lurid miniseries than real life, the dominoes are starting to wobble. And it acknowledges tut, with Diddy's name popping up 47 times in police transcripts and a mounting pile of court documents, there's a sense that the untouchable days are over. The FBI now reportedly has the tape in hand, and for the first time, real power seems to be lining up on the side of the Shakurs. The justice system, infamous for letting leads vanish into the shadows, is under pressure. Will this audio finally force the case back into open court? Or will it, like so many clues before, disappear under a mountain of celebrity influence, legal muscle, and half-forgotten promises? What's certain is that the stakes have never been higher. With the Diddy empire teetering and a federal trial looming that could lock him away for life, every move matters. Prosecutors, busy wrangling missing witnesses and trying to prove a pattern of exploitation, are now confronted with a new X factor. A tape that could tie Diddy to the most famous unsolved hit in music history. Even hardened insiders are quietly admitting that the old "everybody kept their mouth shut" era is long gone. As soon as somebody has handcuffs on them, they'll sell out their own mom now. One retired FBI agent joked, half serious, half wary. If this recording is real, the game has changed. For Mopreme, for Diddy, for every aging industry player who thought the secrets of 1996 would fade with them.
He put up $1 million to get Pac here.
Yeah, correct. He was around Puffy, and Puffy made a comment when they was around, yeah.
Okay. And then Pac got hit.
Yet for every breakthrough, there's a counterpunch. Diddy's camp, of course, denies everything, always has. His lawyers dismiss the entire story as fiction, a rehash of old rivalries and tabloid fantasies. Pure fiction and completely ridiculous, they called the old theories. But the headlines won't let it rest, not this time, not with the feds in the room and the public hungry for closure. Even now, the rumors refuse to settle. Some say the tape will bring down the whole house of cards. Others, more cynical, predict it'll just join the long list of lost evidence that haunts every investigation with a celebrity name attached. And right at the center of this perfect storm, we find Mopreme. Older, warier, still waiting for the day when the truth stops being a matter of whispers and becomes a matter of record. He's lawyered up with one of New York's most ferocious attorneys. He's not backing down, but he's not making wild accusations either. In his own words, he's waiting for proof, for the truth that would satisfy me, because after all these years, even he doesn't expect Diddy to come clean. Every major outlet wants a soundbite. Every fan wants a verdict, but the people who lived it know better. This is the case that refuses to fade away, and with each leak, each subpoena, each late-night rumor, justice may be closer than ever, or slipping further away.
Let's talk about it, man. So you feel like it was bigger than Orlando shooting Pac. You feel like it's more to the story. You don't think it was that simple?
I feel like it's big.
Now the world wants to know, if this tape is real, could it finally crack the blood money code that's been floating around hip-hop like a bad smell since the 90s? That rumor, Diddy's $1 million bounty, never faded, just changed forms. Prosecutors in Vegas are waving around transcripts pointing out how Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the Southside Crips boss now facing trial, supposedly told police straight up that Diddy offered him $1 million for those dudes' heads. Keefe's own words, he wanted the man's head. He'd give anything, are stamped all over those filings, and for years, that's been the urban legend. Cash traded for silence. Money bags for body bags. Until now, Diddy's people brushed it off as street gossip. But suddenly the math is different. If Mopreme's audio shows Diddy making threats or hinting at hush money, this might be the bridge between whispered payments and a real contract hit. The trail of money could lead straight to Diddy's door, just as the walls around him are starting to close in on every side. For years, it's been an open secret in certain circles. Industry veterans muttering that the night Shakur was hit, there was a current of cash running under the strip. And it didn't stop with one envelope. Vegas detectives knew it, LA task forces tried to prove it, but hard evidence? Always just out of reach. Keefe D's boast and tell-alls, Greg Kading's investigation, even the LA Times' infamous and later retracted expose. None of it ever put a signed contract or a numbered bank transfer in the FBI's hands. Yet, every time another suit or criminal charge surfaced, be it against Diddy or his former entourage, someone would mutter about that $1 million offer. Now, with a criminal empire under federal siege and 2 mansions raided for records, the possibility of a real, recorded payoff is suddenly very real. No wonder Diddy looked nervous in court, asking for a bathroom break and smiling with lawyers like a man who knows the good days are over.
3 law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
It's impossible to talk about this new wave of revelations without facing the heartbreak that's fueled it all along. Mopreme's own war. He's not just Shakur's brother, he's the one left holding the scars, fielding questions from Piers Morgan, and making the rounds on podcasts while everyone else rewrites history for their own books or clicks. For almost 3 decades, Mopreme has been forced to walk a tightrope, careful not to say too much, unwilling to give in to conspiracy, but never, ever forgetting. He says it in every interview. I have my doubts. When asked point blank if Diddy was telling the truth, Mopreme hedges but never folds. Quite possibly, and it's kind of looking that way in my opinion. It's a line he's lived by because the stakes are sky high. If he calls Diddy a liar without proof, he's the bitter brother. If he stays quiet, the industry pretends the whole thing was just a feud that went too far.
But, you know, I'm not surprised. You know, we all know who he is and how we get down, so that don't surprise me.
But that fight is changing too. No more waiting for LA detectives to call. No more trusting the same system that forgot to pursue leads for 20 years. Mopreme and the Shakur family have put serious money on the table, hiring one of New York's most infamous legal sharks, Alex Spiro, to dig for the proof that nobody else has found. Spiro's not in it for the mixtape credits. This is the same guy who walked Alec Baldwin out of a manslaughter charge and is now hunting down ties between Diddy and an entire decade of unsolved cases. The family's message couldn't be clearer. If the authorities won't crack it, maybe a courtroom will. There's even talk of a wrongful passing suit aimed at Diddy, based on the new evidence and the testimony Mopreme has kept in his back pocket. Every new leak, every court document tightens the screws on a man who once seemed untouchable. The world is watching to see if the Shakur family's patience, heartbreak, and relentless push for justice can finally break the spell of celebrity immunity. And yet, there's an elephant in the room that everyone's been tiptoeing around for years: the FBI's own curious silence. How many times has evidence landed on their desks only to go missing or get lost in the shuffle of higher-profile scandals? Multiple investigators, from retired agents to local detectives, have suggested that the FBI had enough to act long before now. So why didn't they? Was it Diddy's fame, his wealth, his power to call in political favors from coast to coast? Or was the system just never designed to take down someone who sat at the intersection of Hollywood, Wall Street, and Madison Avenue? These aren't just wild rumors. One former FBI field chief speculated openly that Diddy was shielded by his connections the same way the feds let certain evidence go dark when a case started getting too close to the big names.
You understand? I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
Now, with Mopreme's tape reportedly in the FBI's hands, the spotlight is glaring. For the first time, federal agents can't claim there's nothing to investigate. All those years of whispers about star witnesses going missing or evidence mysteriously vanishing are back in play. Already, the Diddy human trafficking case has seen witnesses disappear and lawyers struggle to get subpoenas served. If this is what happens when the feds go after his private life, imagine what could be at stake if they decide to pull at the threads connecting Diddy to a 3-decade-old contract hit. Has the system been rigged all along? Or have we just witnessed in slow motion the kind of cover-up only big money and industry power can buy?
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
The hip-hop world is holding its breath. Diddy's legal team is fighting on every front, pushing the narrative that every freak-off party was just consent, that every accusation is a money grab, that the public is being fed a steady diet of conspiracy theories. But behind the curtain, prosecutors are preparing for the kind of courtroom circus that eats careers and ends empires. With racketeering and exploitation charges already looming over Diddy's head, the arrival of this tape threatens to turn a bad situation into a nuclear event. If a federal grand jury ever hears even half of what's alleged on Mopreme's recording, Diddy could find himself swapping the red carpet for a jumpsuit, joining the ranks of moguls who thought they'd never answer for anything. And if that happens, the shockwaves won't stop at Bad Boy Records. Every collaborator, every executive, every star who built their name on the Diddy machine will have to ask, what did I know and when did I stop caring?
If you look at it, they committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong.
For all the focus on Diddy's alleged role, there's another shadow looming over this whole saga. Suge Knight, the imposing death row boss who was literally in the car with Shakur when the bullets started flying. Suge's presence that night was never just background noise. His rivalry with Bad Boy, his own violent reputation, and the sheer weight he threw around LA all made him both a magnet for suspicion and a master at dodging questions. For decades, whispers have swirled that Suge knew more than he ever let on, maybe even orchestrating pieces of the chaos himself, playing enemies against each other while presenting as Shakur's protector. But as the walls close in on Diddy, some wonder if this new tape might drag Suge's secrets back into the spotlight, especially now that his empire has long since crumbled and his freedom is just a memory. What makes the Suge Knight factor even more volatile is his current position. Locked up for a separate crime, stripped of power, but with nothing left to lose and plenty of scores still unsettled. In the past, Suge played the media like a violin, teasing at knowledge, dropping cryptic hints, never giving anyone enough to nail him down. Now, with Mopreme's recording rumored to implicate not just one player, but possibly the whole tangled web, the question becomes, would Suge finally talk to save himself or settle old vendettas? There's a real sense that a man like him facing the endgame could decide to blow the roof off the entire story, not out of remorse, but out of sheer self-preserving calculation. If he speaks, it might mean more than just another chapter. It could rewrite the whole book.
You know, when it comes to rewriting history, it's try to rewrite history.
There's no denying that the psychological warfare at play here is almost as intense as the violence that once defined the East Coast-West Coast feud. Suge Knight sits in his cell, watching as the headlines move from his name to Diddy's, calculating whether silence or revelation buys him more leverage. For years, his reluctance to spell out what really happened that night has left a void that conspiracy theorists and investigators alike have rushed to fill. Now, the arrival of this new evidence and the threat it poses to so many powerful figures could finally tip the balance. If Suge comes forward, whether to confirm, deny, or implicate others, the entire landscape of hip-hop's greatest unsolved mystery could shift in a heartbeat. But the road to justice is never straight, and the hip-hop world knows better than to count out a mogul with a billion-dollar Rolodex. Already, some industry insiders are whispering about backdoor deals, about how prosecutors might decide it's easier to bury a 30-year-old conspiracy than to air it all in open court. There's talk that the tape might disappear into evidence lockers, only to surface years from now in another tell-all memoir. Meanwhile, Mopreme and his family keep pushing, their grief and fury fueling a battle that's bigger than any single case. They're not just after an indictment. They're after a reckoning, the kind that forces the industry, the courts, and the public to admit just how much we let slide in the name of stardom.
I ain't no cop. I ain't no lawyer. I watch Law and Order. You know what I'm saying? And the way this is going, it looks like a certain type of thing is going down.
So what happens if the FBI finally acts? Could this tape force the doors open on one of music's darkest secrets, bringing down not just a mogul, but an entire era of untouchables? Or will we watch the story fade again, lost in the noise of lawsuits, celebrity apologies, and paid-off silence? The stakes have never been higher, and every fan, every insider, every family still searching for answers is holding their breath. This could be the moment the truth everyone has been waiting for finally comes to light. Or it could be buried forever, just like Shakur's assailant. Are we about to witness the ultimate downfall of an untouchable mogul? Or will the world's most infamous secret slip away once again? Drop your thoughts below. Whose side are you on, and do you think justice will finally be served? Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, nothing in this world stays hidden forever.